stand together, we'll never fall. We can make a difference.
Well, hi there, and welcome back to another episode of the All Around Growth Podcast. My name is Rob Kaiser, and I am your host. Today is Friday, November 4th, 2022. This is episode number 458, where you join me with my family on our small farm and homestead as we grow all around. One of the ways in which we do that is setting goals. That's right, we dream, we plan, and we act, and we've all come to understand that the best way to predict your future is to create it. And today, we are going to talk about setting goals rather. But before we jump into the goal setting workbook that I started using last year, that I'm going to use this year, I'd like to take a moment and mention the show sponsors and a couple affiliates in the marketplace. First of all, York Meadow Farm is the sponsor of the show, where we produce small batch fermented foods and natural bath and body products. So for products that you're going to use anyways in your home, bath and body products and or fermented foods, please take a moment and check out York Meadow Farm. And when you do, utilize the discount code All Around Growth at checkout to receive 25% off of your order, as a way for us to say thank you for your support in growing the show, contributing to the audience, and simply being who you are and listening to the show and being a part of it with us. In the affiliate marketplace, there will also be links to the 2020, well, it's not the 2023-2022. It is the goal setting workbook for every year, anytime, all the time. I'm going to link to the goal setting workbook. I'm also going to link to the 48 Days Eagles community, which at this time is not open for membership. Membership will be opening on November 14th for a limited amount of time. For 48 hours on November 14th, the Eagles community will be open to new members. So I'll link to that in the show notes, and I would encourage you to check it out and learn more about the community. This has been an integral part of my life and an integral part of the show over the past couple of years. If you want to learn more also about what this is all about, there's also a masterclass for free with Dan Miller, who wrote the book 48 Days to the Work and Life You Love. This is the 20th year anniversary edition of the book, which was first published 20 years ago. And he's hosting a free masterclass that I'll link to in the show notes about the goal setting workbook and then some. So you've set your goals, now what? I'm going to talk a little bit more today about that, how you set your goals, how I worked through this workbook and my experiences in doing so. And I'm also going to share the workbook with you somewhat, as much as I can for the sake of time. But again, you can download this workbook for free in the show notes. You can join this masterclass on the 14th for free, link in the show notes, and check out what this is all about. If you like what you see, you can participate in the community through the link in the show notes. Now, moving forward, like I said, the best way to predict your future is to create it. In the very first page of the goal setting workbook, we read, "All beginnings are hopeful." This is actually a quote from the president of Oxford University, spoken to the entering freshmen in 1944 in the midst of a world war. This is a concept that we have seen confirmed throughout history. In working with people going through change, I am often struck by the discouragement, frustration, and frequent anger and resentment. I have come to recognize, however, that those feelings always tell me that the person is looking backward at something that has already occurred. As soon as we are able to create a clear plan for the future, those feelings quickly begin to dissipate and are replaced by hope, optimism, and enthusiasm. In all my years of life coaching, I have never seen a person who has clear plans and goals who is also depressed. They just don't go together. Last year was a challenging year for many of us. Have you taken responsibility for the way this year has gone for you? Or have you pointed fingers at the economy, the pandemic, the government, the company, and your spouse? Quote, I'm convinced we can create a massive ripple effect to contribute to the solutions for a better life for ourselves, our families, our country, and ultimately the world. Close quote. You can put yourself in the driver's seat of your life immediately. If you create a clear plan, decide what's important to you, and act. Feeling discouraged, miserable in your job, just lost in your business? Give yourself a new beginning tomorrow. All beginnings are hopeful. Now that's what we read on the first page of the workbook. I'm going to go ahead and read the first. You know what? I'm not going to read this, okay? Because if I just sit here and read the workbook to you, it kind of defeats the purpose of you going through the workbook yourself. But what's important to point out is that there's notes in here from The Strangest Secret by Earl Nightingale. A lot of talk about success. Things that read, remember, our minds are like gardens. They give us a bigger return of whatever we planted. If you think about negative things, you will see those enlarge in your life. If you expect and think about positive things, you will see more and more of those in your reality. And I think this is true. I think that when we begin to work this into our life more and more frequently, we become naturally programmed to think about this all the time, and it becomes our mindset. It becomes who we are. We become and embrace this idea of all-around growth naturally. It just becomes us. We become it. There is no differentiation between the two, right? So here is the basic format for this goal setting. You know, it may seem overwhelming to work through a 20-page workbook. Yeah? It may seem intimidating to work through goals in 7 aspects of your life: financial, physical, personal development, family, spiritual, social, career. But we start with financial because those are the most tangible goals for most of us. Now, here's what you can do. Here's what I did today, for example. And you can kind of track my own, you know, before I go on, I want to mention something about, before I talk about what I did today. You can go back in time and I'll link to some of these in the show notes. But way back when, 1 year ago today, in episode number 220, or 219 rather, on this day, we talked about this whole workbook and we did a series on it, 8 parts, where we talked and broke down each individual section: financial, physical, personal development, family, spiritual, social, and career, and then a conclusion episode where we talked about the whole thing. So guys, if you want to see and hear more about this in depth, then by all means, go back and check out that series, starting with episode 219, which I'll link to in the show notes. But here's what I did, and here's what I'm going to share this with you, because I want to encourage you to do this, and rethink how you set your goals, rethink how you set your New Year's resolution, rethink how you do your past year review, rethink whatever it is that you do. Because in the past, I've actually done an episode on the past year review and how I used to approach the end of year going into the new year. I no longer do that. I change. That's the only constant in my life is change. All right? So this morning, to get a jump start on this, because the whole idea with the goal setting workbook is you have this done, you have this complete by November 14th, right? So I'm working on this right now. I start this today. I got 10 days to outline my goals. All right. So over the next 10 days, I'm going to think about these goals in these 7 different areas. And that was part of the reason why I did this series last year, concluding on November 14th. Okay? So we set our goals, we write them down, and the nice thing about this document that I'll link to in the show notes, the goal setting guide, is the fact that it is an editable PDF. Let me double check that, because this is a new, yes, it is an editable PDF. You can print it out, write on it, and then I'll get to that in a second, but it's an editable PDF. And here's what I did. This is what I do. I just printed it out and I sat down with my coffee this morning and I just wrote what came to mind. And I worked my way through the workbook. And speaking of coffee, I'm going to give myself a fresh pour right now. And I set a timer, 25 minutes, okay? I utilize the Pomodoro technique because I've got a full day today. I had to take care of some other things this morning. I needed to do this. I wanted to work through that goal setting workbook. I got to make a bunch of sauerkraut today. Got to get ready for family coming over this weekend. We've all got a lot going on. So how do we balance all this? Well, we utilize management techniques like the Pomodoro technique, where we work for 25 minutes, we take a break for 5 minutes. We do this 3 times, and then we take a long break for 15 minutes. You'd be surprised at the volume of work that you can get done in 25 minutes and how much you can actually progress on the various different projects that you're working on in your life, utilizing this technique. So in 25 minutes, I made it through half of this workbook. Now what I'll do is maybe later today, maybe tomorrow, I'll take another 25 minutes. I'll finish the other half of the workbook. Now, over the course of the next 10 days, if I put in simply 2 hours into this over the course of a few days through 4 different Pomodoro sessions, I'll certainly be able to take what's written, input it into the written document, save it, revisit it with a fresh mind another time, update it, modify it, save it, do that again, update it again, look at it again with a revisited, fresh, clear mind after a good night's sleep. And if I do that 2 more times, I've put in a total of 3 hours into thinking about my future over the next 3 years. All right? Because that's how we approach the goal setting workbook. Here's the framework for this entire process, and I will review this with you, because whether you download this workbook or not, whether you go through this process or not, you may just want to chew on these questions for a little while and then think about them. And I'll actually go ahead and write these questions or include these questions in the show notes to provoke some thought. And maybe even think about writing these down and printing them out just to look at them on a regular basis for easy reference, to get your gears grinding. So here are the questions that you might want to ask yourself, or if you have a mentor or a spouse or a loved one, or even think about me. Think about these questions. If we were meeting 3 years from today, what has to have happened during that 3-year period for you to feel happy about your progress? What are the biggest challenges you'll have to face and deal with in order to achieve that progress? What are the biggest opportunities you have that you can focus on and capture to achieve those things? And what strengths will you need to reinforce and maximize? And what skills and resources will you need to develop that you don't currently have in order to capture those opportunities? Now, as you think about those 4 questions, think about how those apply to your life in terms of financial, physical, personal development, family, spiritual, social, and career. It's a lot to think about. It can be overwhelming at times, right? It doesn't have to be. You can work through this goal planning guide and get very clear guidance on how to look at things 3 years from now, how to identify those things with specificity, how to look at that 3-year goal and break it into a 1-year goal, and ultimately things that you can do today to get started on achieving the success that you want. Your success, financial and otherwise, will never far exceed your personal development. Start doing something that you've put off because of the risk of failure. You want to learn something, you want to do something, you want to achieve something that you've never done, make this your year. Make 2023 that year. This goal setting guide will help you. I promise you. One of the things that's encouraged with this guide is that we go through this process, we set our goals, we have this done by November 14th, and we don't look at it for 14 days. After Thanksgiving, after some family time, around the 1st of December, we look at it again with a fresh mind. 30 days before the new year. We make any further adjustments that we need to. And then we spend the rest of the month buttoning up anything that we need to that we didn't get around to doing in 2022. See how this works? And then what we do after we've got our goals set is we make time each month to review those goals. 2 hours a month. Whether you do that 30 minutes a week or in one block, you got to make that time. Now, I'll be honest with you. The last time I looked at my goals for 2022 was in late August of this year. August 29th, to be specific. The month of September and October, I'm not really sure what happened. We got into 3 farmers markets and things have been very busy and I lost track of myself. And it's easy to do that in life, with our families, with our careers, with our obligations, with life stresses. But I'm not too upset about that because I did make time routinely previously up to that point. And even though this year, for me, has been a year that's been full of transition, including but not limited to leaving my day job, which certainly modified some of the other goals that I had, including my career goals. I still made considerable progress in some areas, more than others, but overall, it was a good year. And when you start doing things like this, when you start utilizing tools like this goal setting guide, it starts to become apparent that the potential for every year to be your best year really is there. For every day to be your best day. It's possible. So 3 years, 1 year, 1 day. That's how we talk about this. That's how we approach this. 7 aspects of life: financial, physical, personal development, family, spiritual, social, and career. And going through this process, going through this goal setting workbook, doing so consistently, and making this a part of your life can help you become a master in the art of living. Quote, "The master in the art of living makes little distinction between his work and his play, his labor and his leisure, his mind and his body, his information and his recreation, his love and his religion. He hardly knows which is which. He simply pursues his vision of excellence at whatever he does, leaving others to decide whether he is working or playing. To him, he is always doing both." Close quote. James Michener wrote that. And that's how we end the goal setting workbook on page 20. And finally, on page 21, the last page of the workbook, Dan Miller concludes by writing, "In order for your purpose in life, your calling, to be fulfilled, you must set goals in multiple areas. Success is never just in career or financial areas. Set your goals for success and balance in family, social, physical, and spiritual areas of your life as well. Make sure that you have some response in each and every category. Put these away for 2 weeks, then come back and ask yourself again, are these really my goals? If they are, then start the process of beginning today to make your deposits. You will be amazed at how they start to come alive and become real. Make a weekly list identifying specific steps for deposits in each area. Every month, set aside 2 hours to review and revise your goals. Let us know your success. Your friend in the process, Dan. And guys, like I said before when I spoke about the 48 Days Eagles community, if you need an accountability partner, or quite frankly, several hundred, to help walk with you and achieve your goals, the 48 Days Eagles community will give you the resources and support that you need to make 2023 a truly new year. It certainly did when I went through this process last year, making 2022 perhaps the best year I've ever had in my entire life, despite all the challenges that came with it. Every day, every week continues to get better. Every month continues to get better. And I'm confident that by following this same process again, 2023 will be the best year ever. So guys, that concludes today's episode. Like I said, I would definitely encourage you to check out the goal setting guide, which you can download for free in the show notes. I would also encourage you to check out and register for the free masterclass on November 14th. Once you've gone through this process of setting the goals, you can hear Dan Miller talk about it. And then if you like what you hear and you're stoked about all of this, the 48 Days Eagles community will be open for registration for 48 hours at that time, starting November 14th. So check it out. Download the workbook for free. Sign up for the masterclass for free. Join me, I'll be there. There's a few other people that you know that will likely be there as well. And start changing your life today. Check out the show notes. Everything I talked to today will be linked to there. And I look forward to seeing you Monday. Take this weekend, work through the goal setting workbook. Begin changing your life today. This is Rob Kaiser, and thank you.
In a world of pain, what can I do? The needs are many and answers a few. People turn away and I wonder why. If I can help somebody, then I want to try. People may think that it's odd that I believe in friendship and love, and truth is always the best way to the world that may seem odd. I'm an odd fellow. I'm an odd fellow. Whoa, whoa. I'm an odd fellow. If we stand together, we'll never fall. We can make a difference and answer the call. You know the times are wasting every day, and we can help somebody along the way. People may think that it's odd that I believe